Hi, I'm Sally Prosser. I spent quite a few years as a radio and television news journalist, which meant a lot of interviewing. Now, as podcast hosts, you're going to be doing a lot of interviewing as well, unless you're doing a solo cast. And so I wanted to share with you my top 3 tips I picked up while being a journalist about interviewing. Number 1, reassure your guest. Make them feel comfortable. Don't worry about your nerves, think about them. So as a journalist, I would often say, relax, it's just you and me having a chat, ignore that the camera's there. If you make a mistake, I can ask the question again, we can edit it out. I wasn't that kind with politicians, but I knew the more comfortable my guest was, the better the interview would be. So the more comfortable you can make your guest, the better the chat will be. Have a chat with them before you hit record. The other thing you can do is not spring anything on them. And so make sure they know, is it audio? Is it audio and video? Is it perhaps audio, video and being live streamed? Just make sure your guest knows what's going on so they're not thrown into a state of panic right before the interview. Make them feel calm and relaxed and reassure them any way you can. Number 2, ask open questions. So open questions are any questions that can't be answered by yes or no. This gets your guest talking. Ask, how did that make you feel? Tell us the story about that. Explain what happened. Any question that gets them talking. Another thing you can do is ask at the end if there's anything else they'd like to add. This can take the conversation in a really interesting direction, but it can also make your guest feel a lot more satisfied. They won't walk away from the interview wishing that they'd said something. So asking if there's anything else you'd like to add at the end is a fantastic final question. And that leads into the 3rd tip, which is to listen. Listen to your guests' responses. Don't just use that time to be like, oh my gosh, what am I going to ask them next? Ask to understand, don't ask to respond. Now, this is where your pre-prepared list of questions might become a bit of a crutch. Sure, have them there, but be prepared to go off script. You want the conversation to flow. Remember, it's a conversation, not a Q&A. And listen to the answers. And pick up on what you find interesting. Lead with curiosity. If you find it interesting, chances are your listeners will as well. And so if you think of something while they're speaking, picking up on what they're saying, it can create a really, really natural, interesting conversation that you probably wouldn't have got with just following your pre-prepared questions. So there you have it. 3 very quick, very useful interview tips. Reassure your guest. Ask open questions and listen to their answers. Now, as a journalist, I have lots of friends in the industry and I asked them to share their top advice for interviewing, and that's what I'd love to leave you with today. Enjoy.